Dear students, welcome to the class. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about a few principles which are quite general. So, general principles of food spoilage. How the food will spoil. See, each type of food have the capacity to spoil in different varieties because it depends on the organism, first of all, which organism is acting on that food, and also the nature of the food, the substrate, what is there in the food, and how the organism reacts with the food, which amino acid is attacked on, which protein is denatured. All these matters in the food spoilage. So we are going to see some general principles of the food spoilage. If X acts on Y, what is the Z formed? All these things. So basically, to start with, I really don't have a definition for a spoiled food because, as you know, one man's food is another man's poison. So I cannot tell that this is a spoiled food, this is not spoiled food, all those things. But I can define it as spoiled food has been damaged or injured so as to make it undesirable for human consumption. That's it. If a food is not in a desirable state for the particular person to consume, it is spoiled for him. See, a very classical example for this is fermented shark. It's all actually relished in the Western countries, and they eat. For first of all, fermented shark smell odor only is very obnoxious. So it is undesirable for you and me probably, or one among us may like that smell. So here we have a lot of categories like we eat non-veg, some eat vegetarian. So a non-vegetarian food is quite undesirable for a vegetarian. So this is how the spoiled food will be. So if at all the food is damaged or injured to make the food undesirable for human consumption, it is called spoiled food. When a food is spoiled, its characteristics are changed so that it is no longer acceptable. So, by and large, most of the food spoilage is a result of microbial activity. Okay, we see that plants and animals have both evolved intrinsic mechanisms that will help them in combating these harmful microbes, right? I have told that antimicrobial properties, their biological structures, the pH, the water activity, all these things will give at least a little bit of resistance to the organisms. Many such microorganisms can overcome these forces and bring about the destruction of the plant or animal organic matter. Right? They will convert them because their metabolic activities are different. So, if at all something is suitable for them, they will take it, they metabolize it, and form something like inorganic compounds are formed from this organic matter. So these primary activities of microorganisms on such particular foods during their stay bring about the spoilage. This is also a way of defining spoiled food. Okay, a general feature of microbial spoilage is its relatively sudden onset. You will not know that an organism is there until it makes its appearance, right? This is actually a reflection of the exponential nature of microbial growth and its consequences that microbial metabolism can also proceed at an exponentially increasing rate. So we know that we always monitor the growth of microorganisms in an exponential way, and their metabolism is also quite exponential. The primary causative agents of microbial spoilage are your bacteria, yeast, and molds, as I have mentioned here, right? On the basis of their growth requirement, these may be expected to occupy its own niche with the respective food. We cannot tell how what all happens, the reaction happens with the particular microorganisms in a particular food. So, on their growth requirement, some will get optimum. I mean, all these parameters, some will not get. All those things matter, and they occupy their own niche with the respect with the requirement with the respective food, right? So the spoilage flora completely varies with the chemical composition of the food and other substance. To study all these things, Mossel and Ingram in the year 1955 suggested that factors which influence the genesis of association of the dominant flora determine the type of spoilage in particular food material. Okay, what are all these factors? We have studied the factors influencing growth and the survival of microorganisms, but now we are studying the factors which influence the association of the dominant flora and the food. Okay, so these factors are the initial infection, the properties of the substrate, the conditions of storage. It may be in an abuse temperature. I name it as an abuse temperature deliberately because a material which has to be refrigerated, if it is kept in the room temperature, it is called abuse temperature. A material which has to be kept in the room temperature is refrigerated means it is not that it is stored, it is abuse temperature. See, generally, we all know that we don't store bananas in the refrigerator. It's an abuse temperature for bananas. It is to be kept at room temperature. Same way, we don't store milk and milk products outside in room temperature because it has to be stored in refrigerator. So, like this it is. So these are the factors which will actually play a very big role in determining the flora and the spoilage. On the basis of ease of spoilage, we have certain types of food which we use many times, like stable or perishable foods. Oh, these are quite perishable. I told you about the milk now. I will call it as these are all perishable. Vegetables and fruits, perishable items. In the period of COVID 19, you have seen that only perishable items will be allowed to be marketed because the farmers will face some problems and also. So, perishable, non perishable, and all is there. See, when I say about stable or non perishable, it's not that it is eternal, but these are the foods which do not spoil unless handled carelessly. If I have given an example of sugar, flour, dry beans, and all. I cannot say that sugar is eternal because a drop of water, a spoon of water in the sugar is enough for a sugar to spoil, right? So that is why it is very important for you to mention that these are the foods which do not spoil unless handled carelessly. Next is semi perishable foods. These are the foods which remain unspoiled when handled properly. So, these remain unspoiled when handled properly, and also I would like to add that stored for a long period. Example is potatoes, nutmegs, these are all semi perishable foods. Coming to our perishable foods, these includes most important daily foods that spoil readily unless special preservative methods are given to it or used. So I will take it as meat, fish, poultry, fruits, vegetables, egg, milk, etc. So basically there are three types of food: stable or non-perishable, semi-perishable, perishable. Okay. There are also some factors affecting the number of microorganisms as well as kind of microorganisms in the food. When I was dealing with the intrinsic factors, I was talking about the water and I told about the soil. I told soil has both the number of microorganisms also more and types of my kinds of microorganisms also. And when I was talking about the water activity, I told that see, number doesn't matter in water, but the kind matters. Even one pathogenic organism in water, even in a single colony or a single cell, also can bring havoc in the health. So there are some factors which are affecting all these things. The kind of spoilage of the food by the microbes and enzymes will definitely depend on the kinds and numbers of these agents present and the environment they stay in. Environment is our food only. Most of the raw foods contain a variety of bacteria, yeast, molds, etc. Because of these particular environmental conditions,